Well, nation, it finally happened. Did anyone truly, in their heart of hearts, believe this couldn't happen? If you hit ABC indefinitely suspends Jimmy Kimmel on your 2025 Apocalypse Bingo card, please come collect your winnings. For the rest of us, we're just sitting here, stunned, watching a chilling new reality unfold on our screens. No more Mr. Nice Guy, no more just jokes. The landscape of late-night television, and let's be honest, American public discourse, was irrevocably fractured this week. And in the smoking crater where Jimmy Kimmel Live used to be, an old familiar face crawled out from under a desk to hold up a mirror to the madness. Daddy's home. The unbelievable, but entirely predictable, tipping point. Let's get the how out of the way, because it's as grim as it is absurd. On Wednesday, ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live from its schedule, not for a week, not for a vacation, indefinitely. The dominoes fell just as you'd expect. It started with affiliate groups, chiefly Nexstar and the ever-present Sinclair, announcing they would preempt the show. Their stated reason? Kimmel's comments from Monday night. He had dared to address the horrific, and frankly, politically inconvenient for some story of Tyler Robinson, the alleged killer of conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk. As the manosphere scrambled to distance themselves, Kimmel did what he does. He called it like he saw it. We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, Kimmel said, and with everything they can to score political points from it. Apparently, that was the line. That was the bridge too far. The affiliates balked, ABC caved, and just like that, one of the most prominent critical voices on television was snuffed out. And as the news broke, one man was on Truth Social, practically popping champagne. Great news for America, Donald Trump posted, brimming with glee. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel Show is cancelled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. He didn't stop there, naturally. He called Kimmel zero talent and immediately pivoted to his next targets. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers, on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it NBC. President DJT. It was a victory lap, a public execution celebrated by the man who has, for months, advocated for all late-night hosts to be ripped from the airwaves. The silence left by Kimmel's removal was deafening. The air felt thick, cold, and terrifying. And then, from the past, a hero we didn't know we still had answered the call. Daddy's home, the return we desperately needed. On Thursday's The Late Show, Stephen Colbert looked at his audience with a familiar, weary expression. He explained that his network, CBS, was understandably a little nervous. They were trying very hard not to run afoul of Brendan Kerr's FCC. So, he said, he couldn't really speak his mind, but he knew someone who could. The lights changed, the music swelled, that bombastic, eagle-screeching theme song we haven't heard in years. And from behind the Late Show desk, a beloved, unhinged, conservative identical cousin crawled out, basking in an explosive standing ovation. "Hello nation," he bellowed, "Daddy's home." The return of Stephen Colbert, the fear-mongering, logic-twisting anchorman from the Colbert Report, was more than just a nostalgic gag. It was an emergency flare. This was Colbert breaking the glass, pulling the alarm, and unleashing the only character who could possibly satirize a world that has become too absurd for normal satire. And of course, he brought back his most potent weapon, the word. The free speech crisis. Is that you're using it? Nation folk, America is facing perhaps its greatest crisis in 249 years. The other Colbert began, the graphic beside him lighting up. You see, people are saying things that hurt Donald Trump's feelings. And that, right there, was the entire ballgame. In a blistering, hilarious, and deeply unsettling segment, Colbert's alter ego diagnosed the sickness in America. It's not that a talk show host was silenced by corporate and political pressure. No, the real problem is that we all have too much freedom. He explained the new rules of the road with terrifying clarity. He tackled the idea that if advertisers or viewers don't like a show, they can just not watch. In this ABC case, he deadpanned, the FCC had no choice but to slap down the invisible hand of the market. He then got to the core of the issue, the emotional heart of this new crisis. Now, you might think the Constitution coddlers out there argue that Americans are born with certain God-given rights like life and liberty, and of course, the pursuit of happiness, he mused. But what about the pursuit of Donald Trump's happiness? He admitted, sure, the words Donald Trump aren't technically in the Constitution. The graphic beside him quietly added, yet, but, as he pointed out, he can say they are, simply because he has freedom of speech. The logic is a perfect, terrifying circle. So he asked, how do we balance our silly little rights with our sacred duty not to make the commander-in-chief fill his depends with tears? His solution was as simple as it was soul-crushing. He paused, he looked at the camera, he mimed zipping his lips shut and throwing away the key. You can have your rights, he declared, the smile never leaving his face. Just as long as you don't use them. Chills. But he wasn't done. He had advice for his fellow hosts, the ones still lucky enough to have a show. You can talk and still say nothing. He beamed. The thing is, all you have to do is repeat whatever the approved message is from the White House today. The graphic beside him immediately changed to, I never met Jeffrey Epstein. It was the final piece of advice, however, that landed like a punch to the gut. He insisted that true patriotism isn't just about censoring yourself. That's for cowards. No, you have a responsibility to do more. You need to turn in your friends, he urged. Write down what they say. Get them fired. Then a true patriot can take their place saying nothing on TV. He tied it all together with a clip of Speaker Mike Johnson, encouraging Democratic mayors to yield and let the National Guard be deployed in their cities. Yes, yield. Yield is my favorite road sign. The character cheered. And sure, not using your rights out of fear might feel like not having them, but as George Washington said, sometimes you have to destroy freedom to save it. His final message to a nation now short one late-night host? So give up, America. Just give up and stop saying anything that might upset the president. And if you think that's a terrible idea, no, you don't. The laughing has to stop, because it's not funny anymore. Colbert, Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, they all addressed the suspension. They all stood by their friend. But it was Colbert's resurrection of his old persona that truly captured the moment. For 9 years on the Colbert Report, he played a character who warned us about this world. We laughed. We laughed because it was absurd, over the top, and ridiculous. We laughed because we thought the parody could never, ever become the reality. We were wrong. The return of the Report character wasn't a celebration. It was an admission of defeat. It was Stephen Colbert telling us, in the only way he knew how, that the world we live in is now so fundamentally broken, so far through the looking glass, that his regular, earnest, human satire can no longer compute. He had to bring back the monster to describe the monsters. Trump's gleeful post wasn't just a footnote, it was the entire point. A major media corporation was successfully pressured into silencing a critic, and the man who benefits most is cheering from the sidelines, pointing his finger and yelling, "Next! Give up, America!" It was the character's final satirical punchline. But as we all stared into the new, Kimmel-shaped hole in our TV schedules, you have to admit, it feels less like a joke and more like an instruction manual. What do you think? Is this a one-off event, or is this the new normal? And if it is, who's going to be left to tell the jokes?